Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
From the western end of the Mediterranean, a convoy of ships sails toward risky waters. It's the biggest attempt yet by international activists to break Israel's years-long naval blockade of the Gaza Strip. Israel says the blockade is necessary to prevent smuggling and has in the past intercepted other missions seeking to reach Gaza by sea. But fears they could be met with violence isn't stopping this group of ships, stocked with aid and volunteers willing to risk their lives to deliver it. I'm Caryn Ceolin, and today on The Big Story, I'm joined by Zaheera Soomar, a Toronto-based pro-Palestinian activist. I spoke to Zaheera from her boat in the Mediterranean, which is currently on its way to Gaza, which she anticipates they could reach by next week. Zaheera, really appreciate you taking the time for the conversation. Thank you.
A pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I guess just to start, where are we reaching you from right now? Can you describe where you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am in the Mediterranean Sea on a motorboat in between the south coast of Italy and Greece. We'll be hitting Kalamata, Greece side probably in the next 12 to 16 hours. But I'm in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, and I'm amidst 36 other boats on the ocean.
For those listening who may not be familiar with what this mission is about, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. So look, this is a freedom flotilla movement. Well, actually, this one specifically is called the Global Sumud Flotilla movement, but it's part of the freedom flotilla movement, which started in 2006. So it's 19 years old. And this is the 38th freedom flotilla group that will be setting sail, has its sail. It is the largest of its mission since inception in 2006. And really what it is that it's a mission to break an illegal siege to establish a humanitarian corridor for the Palestinians in Gaza. That's what it is. And every single 37th mission prior to this has been exactly that as well.
What has the experience been like so far participating in this?
So this is the end of our third week on this journey. It really hasn't been easy. For the first 2 weeks, and actually it's a mix, because right now we have boats on the ocean that are from Barcelona, and this is week 4 for them. We have boats on the ocean that are from Tunis, which is where I docked, and this is week 3 for us. And then we have boats on the ocean from Italy, which is week 1 for them. And today we have boats leaving from Greece. So this is my third week. The first 2 weeks I spent in Tunis undergoing quite intensive training to prepare us not just for being at sea for 2 to 3 weeks, but also what could potentially happen afterwards, and the various scenarios that could play out. So it's been intense. This past night, this is the 7th day at sea for me. It's not easy. I am sitting right now speaking to you in a very rocky boat, feeling very nauseous. So it's not easy by any means.
Yeah, I'm wondering if before we get into more about the mission and what motivated you to join the flotilla, can you just describe for us what your day kind of looks like at sea?
Absolutely. So I'm the boat manager for my boat. Every single boat has got a captain and has got a manager. The job of the captain is to make sure that obviously they sail the boat and they keep everybody safe. My job is regarding the mission. So I manage the mission and I manage the people that are on board, and I make sure that we act in accordance to the values and the purpose of the mission, and that everybody on board is fully trained up, ready for what will come their way, but also participates in duty. So I've had to draw up a schedule. There's a variety of duties that need to be taken place. I've had to draw up a schedule so that everybody kind of participates and does their part. And so what a day looks like is I don't really get a full night of sleep because I work very closely with the captain and I work very closely with the other 30-odd boats at sea, and we kind of coordinate throughout the night. So my night is very broken in terms of sleep. I usually then get up around sunrise and I'm up for the rest of the day. I have meetings with the rest of the boat managers at 8 o'clock every morning. So I'll usually get up around sunrise. I'll have a cup of tea or something to eat. At 8 o'clock, I get on a 1.5 hour call. And that's really to plan and strategize, because things change every day. So the weather changes every day. There might be new incidents that are taking place. Some boats might have experienced problems. And so every single day there's a strategic meeting as to what had happened in the past 12 hours. What do we do? What should we do today? Where do we head out, etc. So that's from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. And then at 10 a.m. there's a captain's meeting. My captain speaks Arabic and French, so I usually have to join that meeting as well. And then I have to go into translation mode with him and explain exactly what's happening. At that meeting, we discussed very mechanical things. So if it's about the boat or the weather or who asked them help, what equipment do we need, what spare parts do we need, etc. We talked about that. Throughout the day, there's somebody that's allocated to prepare breakfast. There's somebody that's allocated to clean up after breakfast, somebody that's allocated to lunch and also clean up and same with dinner. Usually in the afternoon, that's when I will sit down and I will actually brief the team, the rest of the people on the boat, around what was discussed in the meeting. Has anything changed? What's the plan for today? Where are we heading? What do we expect to see? What do we expect to feel, etc. We also just do like a mental health check-in with everybody to see if they're okay. Physical health as well in case anybody's not feeling well, and then we kind of address what needs to be addressed. And then in the afternoon, I usually do drills with it. So we have a fire drill, we have a safety drill, we have an interception drill, and we also have an attack drill. So I'll usually brief them on something in the afternoon. And then very randomly, when they're not expecting it, I'll call for one of the drills. Like I'll say fire, or I'll say we're being intercepted. And we basically have to run the drill without them being kind of prepared for it. And then, we go into nighttime. And at nighttime, it becomes a little bit more difficult because the winds pick up. So I'm usually with the cats until about midnight, just making sure everything's safe. We also have night watch duty. So every night between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. in the morning, we have 3 different shifts, 2 people per shift. And everybody takes night watch duty because if anything's going to happen, it's likely going to happen at night. So that's typically what our day looks like.
What motivated you to join this mission? And I wonder, beyond those challenges that you've just laid out, we know that one of the boats traveling within this mission was hit by drones. And I wonder why you would choose to put yourself at risk to do this.
Yeah, look, I'm South African born and bred. That's my nationality. I grew up in apartheid. When I was born, I lived in 11 years in apartheid, and I know what oppression feels like. Palestine and South Africa have a very strong history, and so I grew up fighting for the Palestinian movement and understanding what it means to fight for the Palestinian movement. For as long as I can remember, this is a fight that we stood together. When we were fighting apartheid in South Africa, Palestine was there and really supported us along with other countries. I have a Cape Island. And so we have very strong solidarity alliances with some of these countries. And so I've always been pro-Palestinian, and I've always had a very justice activist, humanitarian and human rights stance. I work in the space as well professionally. And so so a lot of my time and my energy gets spent in this space. For the past 2 years, since the events of 7th of October, I've been very vocal and very verbal and very active on what's happening in Palestine, especially on the Canadian side. I've spent a lot of time leading protests and just leading activism work, and also lobbying governments in Canada, and also just helping refugees come into Canada from Gaza. So it's very close to my heart. Why did I join the flotilla? Because everything that we're doing I don't want to say it's not working. It is working. It's changing hearts and minds of people, and it is creating awareness, but it hasn't stopped the genocide, and it hasn't stopped the man-made famine, which is what the United Nations is calling it. And so, our governments are not doing enough. And so ordinary people like myself, are taking things in our own hand to try and establish a humanitarian corridor and kind of make a difference.
Was it a hard choice to leave, your life in Canada behind for a few weeks, and put yourself potentially again at risk? Did that decision come easy for you?
Absolutely not. So I had signed up for the 2024 flotilla that was supposed to leave from Turkey, which didn't leave because it was sabotaged bureaucratically. And I was contacted to join this movement. And initially, when I was contacted, I was hesitant. Because it was now very kind of real and serious. And I'm married and I've got 3 kids. And I have to think about my responsibility as a mother and as a wife, and even as a daughter and a sibling. And when I was initially contacted, I didn't make a decision immediately. And I thought that my initial reaction was, there'd been 26,000 people who've applied to be on this mission. They only need a couple of hundred. There's enough people willing to go. But as I sat with that decision for about 3 days, I felt this calling and I felt this intensity within me that maybe this came for a specific reason. And then eventually I raised it to my husband. And initially he wasn't, I don't know if he didn't take it seriously or maybe he didn't think that I would go. But when I sat him down and I said, I want to, we then started having serious conversations about it. And I said to both him and my kids, all 3 of my kids, if you don't support this, or if it's a complete no from any of your sides, I will not do this. And so none of them said no. But my husband wasn't fully supportive. Like, he didn't want me to hurt myself or put myself at risk. But he also knows the type of person I am, so he didn't say no. And we had agreed that what we had initially agreed is, okay, I will go to Tuna. I have a lot of questions about this mission. They can't really answer it before the time. I will go to Tuna and I will learn and I will sit in the trainings and I will ask my questions. And only if and when I feel completely comfortable about how this mission is being conducted and what protocol is being put in place, I will discuss it with my husband, and only if we are both comfortable will I kind of continue on this mission. And that's exactly what I did. And once I got to a level of comfortability that, okay, I trust what's being done and how it's being done. And even though it's still a very big risk for myself, only at that point I say kind of, yeah, I will go.
What about the mission, I suppose, made you trust it or earned your trust? How are you feeling about, the choice you made now?
I feel confident. I'm not going to lie and say that there aren't days when I've questioned it. There are. And it's usually the days that I've been on the boat. Actually, it's very harsh conditions, which is very rough. Most people have been sick every day. It's not easy being many people on a small boat that you've never met from different nationalities and different cultures. And you've got no space to go anywhere. You're kind of cramped in a boat. You don't have a corner that you can go to be by yourself. There's no escape. And so it's not easy. And there are times when, I've wondered, should I have done this? And then very quickly I say to myself, no. Or if I speak to my husband, actually he's the one reassuring me these days, saying, you need to complete your mission. You're doing it for the right reasons. This is where you need to be. But to your earlier question, what gave me comfort? The first thing is that this is a non-violent mission. There's no intention of violence, discussion, debate, argument, convincing of any sort. We are here as individuals. We have nothing armed with us. We are completely non-violent. This is a humanitarian mission. The aim is not to even get off the boat onto Gaza. The aim is really to get to the shores of Gaza, drop the aid, and kind of leave immediately. And the training that we went through for 2 weeks gave me a sense of comfort. Just the rigor of the training, and also just meeting the other comrades and other people that would be on the boat. The type of people that you'd be around every day, spending your time with. Because on your boat, if one person acts out of character or does something wrong, the whole boat is in jeopardy. And so you have to have trust of the people that come board with you as well as your captain. And I suppose once I got more into all of that and met people, so my comfort grew.
Various missions have tried, since 2010 to reach the shores of Gaza, and were never actually allowed to reach Gaza's shore and dock. I wonder how you anticipate being received by Israeli forces when you approach Gaza.
Yeah, look, we don't know what's going to happen. We obviously have hindsight, right, as the benefit in terms of preparation. So as you mentioned, since 2010, no flotilla has actually made its way to the Gaza shore. Either it was bureaucratic sabotage or the boats were kind of tampered with, sabotaged or bombed prior to them even leaving. Or as you've seen with the recent two flotillas, the Handala and the Madleen, both of them were intercepted, as well as kind of Mavi Marmara in 2010. And so we've looked at the various scenarios. I mean, the most likely scenario is to be intercepted. But what sets precedent here is that this is not one boat, or it's not fixed like in 2010. This is 40 plus boats. And so when it sets precedence on what we're doing, it might set precedence on the reaction as well. So we are preparing for various options. And we're hoping that, maybe not all boats get to the shores of Gaza. Every single boat is carrying aid, maybe a few. And if that's the case, then whatever will be, it's successful, because we will either raise awareness, we will either show what's truly happening, we'll either show the truth about blocking humanitarian aid, or we'll get the humanitarian aid to the shores of Gaza. And so our mission really is peaceful, and it really is from a humanitarian perspective. And we work with the different scenarios, and I don't know, let's see what happens. We really don't know what's going to happen, and we don't know when it will happen either.
Is the greater goal then, independent of whether or not this flotilla succeeds to reach Gaza, the greater goal is to raise awareness about the situation there?
The greater goal is to stop the illegal siege and establish a humanitarian corridor. That is the greater goal. And that's in alignment with what ICJ instructed Israel last year after the ICJ court ruling. And it hasn't been achieved, right? So there isn't a humanitarian corridor with free-flowing aid that's going into Gaza. So the goal is to break that illegal siege, and it is to establish a humanitarian corridor. But in the event that not a single one of the 40 plus boats reach the shore, it's not a complete loss, as in it's not that it doesn't achieve anything. It might achieve secondary goals of ours, maybe not our primary goals.
What might that recognition mean in practice, do you think?
You mean of like the secondary achievement?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, one is, if people understand the true purpose of this mission and truly understand what international law is, and that we are well within our rights of international law, and if we get intercepted or stopped or bombed or attacked by Israel, number one, it's going to show the world what Israel is truly doing and how it's blocking humanitarian aid. And number two, it just creates a general awareness of what truly is happening in Gaza at the moment and what Israel is after. And, indirectly, those two things could lead to more citizens putting more political pressure on government. And maybe one day governments actually acting in the right way for the sake of Gaza to stop this genocide.
At this moment that we are speaking, Canada officially recognized a Palestinian state in tandem with France, Britain, and Australia. And I wonder how you are reacting to that news.
It doesn't make any difference to me, to be honest. Canada, initially they vetoed a ceasefire, they then vetoed a ceasefire. They now recognize a Palestinian state. So what? Those things are not making a difference. Canada is still funding a lot of this genocide. They still send money to Israel. All of our banks in Canada are funding Elbit Systems, which is the weapon manufacturer for what Israel uses. And so, it's nice that they can say that we recognize a Palestinian state. But when you look at the liberation for Palestinians and where they are on this journey, like a state solution is far away from what needs to be achieved right now. Right now, we need a ceasefire. We need the killing to be stopped. We need bombings to stop, and we need aid to get in. So it's nice that they're recognizing Palestine as a state, but that's not the critical crux point at the moment. It's still a genocide taking place, and if Canada really cares, it needs to put pressure on Israel and the US to kind of pull for a ceasefire, and it needs to pull their funding to stop what's happening in Israel. Canada needs to cut ties.
What's next for you? I know, we're still you're still very much involved in this mission, and you don't know what's going to happen once you reach the shores of Gaza. But I wonder if you've thought about or reflected on what you might do once this mission is over.
I will continue to fight for the liberation of Palestinians along with every other oppressed nation that exists in the world, Sudan, Congo. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing. My work didn't start on the 7th of October, 2023. I've been doing this work for many, many, many years, over a decade now. And I will continue to do that work. That's how I want to be spending my time. That's the legacy I want to leave here, and that's the difference I want to make in this world. And so I will continue to fight for the people that need fighting for to establish equality in this world.
Okay, Zaheera, I know your time is limited. I really appreciate you making the time today during your busy day to have this conversation with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to The Big Story. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love for you to share it with a friend. You can find us on the Seeker app or on all your favorite podcast players. You can also send us feedback. Email us at hello@thebigstorypodcast.ca or leave a voicemail at 416-935-5935. I'm Caryn Ceolin. Thanks again for listening.